Hi, and welcome to episode 90 of the Heartland Knits podcast. My name is Vicki, but you can find me as Heartland Knits on Ravelry and Instagram. And today is Sunday, January 11th, 2015. Happy New Year, everybody. This is my first recording of the year, so I haven't been able to wish you a new year yet. But I kind of went a little cast on crazy. So I have lots of new stuff on the needles to show you. So let me just get started right away and show you what's on my needles. And I think I'll start with the cast on that I just did the other day. And one of the things I've started doing is kind of going through and started the decluttering process. And I came across a sweater that I knit last spring, winter and spring, the Buds and Blooms sweater. It was a real pretty blue yarn from Sun Valley Fibers, and I loved the yarn. I loved the color of the yarn. I loved working with the yarn, but I don't think it ended up to be a good match with that sweater. And I think I wore that maybe 3 times. I know I wore it twice, and I probably wore it to throw on at least once in there. So I put it on and I thought, I don't really like this. So I ended up ripping that sweater out, washing the yarn, and I wanted to show you, this is a skein of the yarn. It looks brand new. You know how it gets wrinkly, crinkly when you rip something out? I just washed it, hung it up. It's like a brand new skein yarn. So when I bought the yarn originally, I bought it last January at the January thaw. I bought it to knit Entangled Vines from Botanical Knits. And it's a really pretty cardigan with a pretty detail down the sleeve, like a cable detail down the sleeve. And so I went back. At first I was thinking of doing this other one. I thought, no, just go back to the one that you were originally going to knit. So I'm trying to think of where to put this. Okay. So I ripped it out on Friday and washed the yarn and then cast on yesterday. And this is a top-down cardigan. And so this is the start of it. So this is just the back. You'll probably remember once you see this pretty blue. And then this is the cable pattern on the sleeve. Try to work that out there. So it's, I am using, for gauge, the gauge is 4.5 stitches to the inch, and I'm using size 8, which are 5mm. And this yarn is Sun Valley Fibers. It's her MCN worsted. So it's merino cashmere nylon. And it's nice and soft and squishy. And I hadn't worn that other sweater very much, so it didn't have any kind of like pilling or anything, but it was just easy to rip out, and like I showed, it came back fully, looks brand new. So I just did this kind of yesterday in the afternoon, and it's really nice. I gotta say, Alana Dacos, who's this Botanical Knits, all the designs are by her. She is an excellent designer. You don't have to double think, do I have to add short rows in somewhere? Where am I going to do that? They're right in there, right beginning. It's how she worked, so that's all worked out. It's a pleasure to do her patterns. So the January thaw for this year is in a couple of weeks. It's a couple weekends from now. And Jeanette is having a knit along for, the thaw. Will I push to try to finish this before this year's? I could. I mean, I know if I pushed, I could get it done, because once you get past the, this little cable detail is just on the sleeve. the body is just in stockinette and it's on size 8 needles. So yeah, I probably could. Am I going to? Not really. I'm going to work on it, but I'm going to work on it just like when I feel like it. If I'm not finished, I can work on it when I'm there. So I'm not, you know, going to like really, try, because I was doing that a lot, at the end of last year. I was like pushing to get things done really fast, and I thought I don't really want to do that. Um so that is one thing that I cast on. And then let's see, when is the next? That was, um, I think I showed in the last show, I received a pattern for Christmas, and I wanted to cast it on. So I did cast it on. This is the Midsummer pattern. It's a lace shawl by Sylvia Harding. And this is my wee little start of it. It is out of this hand spun yarn that I spun last spring. And I got to this point, and this is the point where you have to start adding the beads on. It's a heavily beaded shawl. And I kind of looked through my bead stash, and I came up, it uses kind of two colors, one for like the top, triangle portion, and then along the edging it has another color. You wouldn't have to do it in two colors, but so anyway, I went through my stash and I picked out these two colors. One is like a silver line crystal, and one is kind of a pale pink. I think it's silver lined also. The clear ones are hex cut and the other ones aren't. But I just thought these would look really pretty together. They're, kind of similar, but just a little bit different for the edging. But what stopped me kind of in working on it was it calls for a lot of beads. And I think if I did it just as written, I would have enough. But I am thinking about extending it because I have more yardage than the pattern calls for. The yarn I'm using, I put it on my Yarn Buddy. But I'm thinking about, like, if I extend it, then I'm going to need more beads also. And I just want to do a little calculating and make sure before I start using these that I have enough if I extend it out. Because these come from a bead store that's no longer in business. So that's what I did this little bit, and it was such a pleasure knitting lace again and using hand spun. So I do want to get going on that. I just have to stop and do a little calculating with the beads. And then, so then it takes us back to New Year's Day. I always try to start a new project, like a bigger project, like a sweater or something. And I did that. But my other tradition for New Year's Day is I always go to the movies, unless, weather permitting. So I decided I went to go see the new Hobbit movie. And I wanted to take some knitting along, but I didn't really have something on the needles that would just be easy to knit on at the movie theater. I had those stripy socks, the Autumn Amore ones with the lollipop yarn that's like the autumn colors. But they're autumn colors. And, I'm not in dire need of socks. My sock drawer is pretty much full. So I thought if those don't get done, I can work on them next fall. So I cast on a new pair of socks to take. So in the morning on New Year's Day, I cast on the toe in the morning, and then I went to the show in the afternoon, and I decided to use this really pretty yarn. And I'm keeping this in my my little Java Jenny kitchen counter crafter little bag with the cardinals. I bought this at ZK last year, but I thought it just looked like spring and it looked pretty. But I am using this beautiful lollipop yarn, and it's getting like really, it's bright, but I don't know if it's quite that bright. But it is, I don't know the name of it, but it's lollipop yarn, because back, it's from a couple years ago, and she used to just send them in a box with the little card, and somewhere they got separated. So I'm not sure what the name of it is. It was certainly like a Valentine's Day, kind of colorway, because it's a 5 striper, and so this is as far as I am. Kind of like there, that's about right. But it, goes from red to like a hot pink. There's kind of a salmony pink and kind of one with a little more blue, more mauve in there. But it is, so this is what I knit the toe at home, then I knit this far. So that shows how long the movie was. I love these colors of this sock. I can just picture it with my Vivs, my Fluog Vivs. I could just picture it with those shoes. So that's a really good shot of the colors. And I have to apologize. The lighting is probably a little bit different because the overhead light blew out right before I sat down. So it's a little bit different. And then there's light coming in from the porch. But so that is another of the new cast-ons. And then the big project that I cast on, the sweater project, was, I think I talked about that I wanted to knit that. And that is a sweater out of this hand spun yarn, which is Wensleydale. It's the Jonquil colorway from Lisa Sousa. And so I don't have a lot to show for it because I've been doing a little Zen knitting where you knit and then you rip it out and then you knit a little different. So at first I started knitting it double-stranded, and I was going to do a yoke sweater, and I got almost one whole sleeve done, and I kind of waited, and I thought this is going to be awful tight as far as having enough yarn. So I ripped it out then and thought, well, let's see, single stranding it. And I kind of went back to, and so this is the sleeve. This is like my swatch of a sleeve to see, kind of tell exactly what I'm going to do. So, but you can see the stitch patterns that I'm going to do. And this is the ribbing. It's called the Wheat Ear Rib. And it is from Barbara Walker's, I think this is book number 1. It's the blue book. Which I just think it looks really pretty. And I had picked out these patterns a long time ago when I first knit this sweater. And then the other one is like a lacy kind of a pattern. It's not going to show up really, but it's called it's another wheat kind of pattern, and that one comes from this big book, which is Hapsula Shawl, which is filled with Estonian lace patterns, all these with charts and things. Head of grain. It's a head of grain pattern. So so this was here's part of the double. This is with it double stranded, and this is with it single stranded. So I'm still up in the air about what I'm going to do with it, but these are the kind of the patterns that I'm going to do. And I decided to do kind of open it up and do the lacy pattern. First I was just going to do the wheat ear rib and then kind of plain stockinette, but it looks better with a patterned stitch with this yarn. And so anyway, this is my big swatch, and it will still just get processed. Kind of just decided to wait until I got a little more on the spinning because I have 4 ounces of this fiber that hasn't been spun yet. So I started spinning that and those. So back to this sweater, and I started spinning for the last 4 ounces of it. So I'm going to reach and get this. So I set up my Ashford Traveler. It was the wheel when I spun this. That was the only wheel I had. I set it up in the other room. It's a lot lighter and brighter, and it's been like really such a pleasure to spin in there. And then there's this hashtag going around on Instagram, spin 15 and 15, so 15 minutes a day for in 2015. And so I've been kind of doing that. I've done like longer than that, but I am just taking my time and spinning this. So this is my bobbin from that what I've been spinning. So you can sort of see the size of the single there. And I really enjoy spinning Wensleydale. It's a long wool, so there is that to take into account if you're not used to spinning long wools. And I kind of, had to rediscover my original spinning style doing this, which is not really worsted. It's not really woolen. It's kind of a blend of things. That wheel in particular, I can spin really soft. It's a really intuitive feel, but I can spin a really soft yarn. So I can spin a single that hangs straight, but it still like does not pull apart, and I don't have to do any kind of bother with it. Oh, and I do have the buttons up here. These are the buttons that, I don't know if they'll show up. Oh, there, you can sort of see them. These are the buttons that I want to use for it. They're even prettier than that. It's, and these are glass buttons by Sheila Ernst. So they've got like a dark blue background and then like a flower that comes up in yellow, and it's got kind of a light blue. So that's going to have those colors in the yoke. So those are all my projects on the needles. I have one off the needles too. I finished my owl sweater that I was working on the last time I recorded. And this is a design by Kate Davies. I used Quince & Co. puffin yarn in the Belize colorway. So this is my sweater. You can see the length and everything. And I shamelessly stole this idea from Corey Irek Knits. And her owl sweater, she put like different buttons for each, pair of eyes. And you'll see this one just has one eye, because I don't know if it shows. You can see like the sparkle. It's got like a little rhinestone like in the middle for the eye. And I have the other one, but the rhinestone, these are all like old buttons, and the rhinestone fell out of that. And so I have to, like the little tube of crazy glue that I had was all dried up, and I haven't gotten a new one yet. So I decided to leave it off the sweater just in case I was trying to like glue it on and something bad happened. But so that is my owls. I think I really love like with all the different color eyes on it. And then the back is just plain. It doesn't have eyes on it. They're just plain. And so I knit this. I finished it. I started it on Christmas Day, and I finished it like maybe Tuesday, so like the 30th. So I did finish it before New Year's. And it's, I used those really big needles, like 10.5s to knit it. So anyway, it's done. Is it my favorite sweater? Probably not. I did the waist shaping in the back, but she also has this like shaping along the sides here, and I really don't like that. I put it on and I don't like that. So I'm thinking I'm not going to like rip out the yoke and stuff. What I'm thinking of doing is just doing a little like strategic mattress stitch so that it does not like puff out at the side. And just, like easing that back out then when I get to the underarm. So, because I just don't like how I just don't like it. So, that will, remain to be seen. But it's finished. And the yarn was really nice to knit with. It's a great big bulky yarn. I'm just not like really thrilled with it because I'm just the bulky needles, the bulky knit kind of thing. I'm just not. That's not my favorite. So anyway, that is my finished. Okay, in Imaginating, I do have something that I'm thinking about that is kind of calling to me, but I'm kind of holding off because I just cast on all this stuff. But I found this mitten. It's a design, but they're the Sweet Nectar mitts. And this come from Tanis Fiber Arts. And I just think they're so pretty with the little hummingbird and the flower. They sell a kit for it, or you can just buy the pattern. So I haven't, though I really like, you can't see on here, but they're a stranded mitt, but then they're lined with an MCN, like a fingering MCN. And the kit has it like in, this is kind of like a purple and cream. And then the lining is kind of a watermelon. So it's like a really bright little burst. And then they have other colors of kits also. But you can also just like use your own yarn or whatever. So I'm, thinking about that. I just thought it was really, really pretty. I liked the look of that. And there's a couple other things that I was thinking about starting. There's like yarn that's wound and stuff. I do have to knit. I want to knit one more chemo hat for Halos of Hope before the January thaw, or at least kind of get it started. Maybe I could knit on it there too, but I want to make sure that I would finish it and stuff. So it would probably be better if I had it done before I went. There's new stuff, more stuff coming. I think the knitting bug is back, which is good. As far as show and tell, I don't really have any kind of yarny thing to show you, but I do have something. Everybody on Instagram on New Year's, everybody was, saying what their like knitting goals and resolutions and all of that stuff was. And I'm not putting rules on my knitting. I'm going to, knit like what I want, when I want. If I want to buy yarn, I'll buy, because buying yarn is fun. And I just, as a friend of mine said, knitting is my hobby. I'm not going to put rules on it so that you won't see any sort of stash downs, yarn diets, that kind of thing. I'm not kind of trolling Etsy looking for things, but like if I go, someplace or I, think, like the knitting kit or something that I decide I want to do, I'm not going to say, oh, I can't get it until I, knit this much out of my stash or whatever. So anyway, my New Year's goals were to have more fun, buy more shoes. So I started the year out right. So I'm going to show you. I love my vlogs, but it's January and I live in Wisconsin, and you just need, sometimes you just need warmth. So in the summer, I dress in dresses and slippers, and I love my heeled, my Vogs. But in winter, you need your Uggs. So I bought these really pretty blue, and they're way prettier blue than that. They're looking like a denim-y blue. Maybe it's the turquoise. Like they're like a true like cobalty blue, and they've got the bows on the back. But I just thought I need new Uggs. They're nice and warm and fun and pretty, and I loved these because they have the blue. Most Uggs have like the tan sole, but these had the matching blue. I wish they were coming out the right color. They put it really close. It's looking more purpley. They're like a really like a perfect cobalty blue, like the bluest blue that ever blued. So those are my shoes, starting out the year right. They're boots, but yeah. So anyway, that is the show for this week. I want to thank everybody for watching. I've been getting quite a few people following me on YouTube, so I don't know if y'all are kind of new like podcast watchers or new like finding mine because I wasn't on YouTube before, or if you're just deciding that you rather watch it that way. But I welcome everybody, and I'm still on iTunes, and you can watch it on the blog, which is heartlandknits.blogspot.com. And we do have a group on Ravelry called Friends of Heartland Knits, so you can come on over there and join there. It's a quiet group, but that's okay. I must confess I don't even go there that often because I don't go to Ravelry that often. I know. But I'm going to try to be better this year. But anyway, I thank you all for watching, and until I see you next week, from my heart to yours, happy knitting.